Hey everyone, happy Thursday. Welcome to Restorative. I just dropped a link in our chat, so if you go down to the bottom caret, open up that chat, there's a link to a Spotify playlist, which is nice and soothing, so if you do like music while you're lying around on the mat and stretching out, feel free to take a listen to that. So, as usual, we'll use lots of props. So if you haven't already, grab your blankets, your pillows, if you use blocks, if you use a chair, all the things you generally have for your restorative practice, I recommend having today so that you can take from it and add to your positions what's going to be supportive of your body. And if you're not sure, if you're new to this practice, I generally have 3 blankets. I generally have 2 pillows. I do have blocks at home, so I use those, but you could also use hardback books. I also either have wall space or a chair. So we will head to our mats and get started in a forward fold, actually. And if you have that wall space, you can utilize it. And if you have that chair, you can utilize it. I'll show you both options. So at the wall, the forward fold would just be a matter of resting your sits bones against the wall. Right, your feet are like fairly wide. They're underneath the hips or maybe a little bit wider. And you're resting your sits bones against the wall. And you're letting your arms drape down towards the floor, or you can bring pillows under your face if the floor is far away. And rest your hands on your pillows, or you can bring a chair in front of your face and rest your hands on the chair. Alright, so utilizing all of your props, leaning some weight into the heels and to the sits bones. If it's resting against the wall, letting your head relax. And now bend your knees pretty generously. Let your shoulders be relaxed, crown of the head heavy towards the mat. Take a big breath in and a big breath out. So we'll breathe here for 3, for 2, and 1. Now next we're gonna, if you're using the wall, you can stay there. I'm gonna keep using the wall. I'm just gonna slide a folded blanket underneath my heels, really bend my knees deep and let my sits bones slide down the wall. I'm turning my toes out, and then I'm just coming to the squat. So I'm leaning my back body against the wall. I'm kind of nestling my elbows along the inner sides of the knees. And then so sometimes it's nice to, especially if you're not at a wall, slide something underneath the sits bones like pillows, blocks, stacked blankets, so that your sits bones get more of an elevation, right? So either way, stack and fold maybe a blanket or 2 underneath the heels so they're slightly lifted. Elbows inside of the knees are real gentle, just a little gentle pressure on the inner knees. Hands could be at the heart, or you can reach the fingertips down to the floor and curl the chin into the chest. Let's breathe here for 3. For 2. Last one. So we'll come back into our forward fold. So walking your hands forward, leaning some weight into the toes, lift the hips up, lengthen out through the back body, let your head be heavy. Let your arms drape down towards the mat. The wall is still behind you, sits bones resting there. And then feet on the blanket, for me, what I like to do is take my heel bones, walk them back so that now the ball mounds of my feet are slightly elevated on the blanket.
and my heel bones are off the blanket. So it's a little bit of a calf and Achilles tendon stretch, a little bit of hamstring and glutes, just kind of depending on, where you're feeling it in your body. This might be solely concentrated in the spine, the neck, shoulders. It just depends on where the tissues are tight. I'm adding a little bit of a rock side to side in my forward fold. Feel free to do the same. Pause and breathe here for 3. 2. Last one. And then once more, we'll come back into our squat. So go ahead and take that folded blanket underneath the heels once more. Maybe there's some props that you're sliding underneath the sits bones. The squat doesn't need to be super low. It's fine if it's higher. Turning the toes out, heel bones slightly in. I'm working my triceps, my shoulders inside of the knee joint. And then I'm leaning my low back. I have this wall behind me, so I'm leaning my low back into the wall. You could also do this on a couch, something that's heavy that's not gonna get pushed back with your body weight. Anything you want with your hands, so the hands can be at the heart. You can continue to breathe and sit up, or you can curl the chin into the chest, hands down to the mat. Pause and breathe here for 3. 2. Last one. So whatever way it makes sense for you to release out of this, go ahead. If you want a brief forward fold just to lengthen out through the backs of the legs and kind of bend the knees right to left, you can do that too. Now come off of our blanket, come off of your props. We'll come to take a seat. Now if you're using that wall space behind you, I suggest continue using it. I'm going to show you this from the side, and then I'll set up with my low back against the wall, but I want you to see what it looks like from the side. Okay, so what I'm going to do is take a blanket underneath my sits bones, and it's, I don't know, my blanket's probably like 1.5 inches thick. You can make it as much height as you need, as little height as you need, and then stretch my legs forward. And you can play with the distance between the feet. So I find it's a little bit more accessible to forward fold if the legs are a little bit wider apart. I feel a little bit more hindered, and this could be just relative to my body, if my feet are closer together. And then here's an option. If you have pillows or blankets, and this is a really firm bolster, so a couch cushion would kind of mimic this setup. I'm just setting it on its side, curling my chin into my chest and letting my forehead rest here, and then letting my arms be really soft and relaxed. Okay, so you can play with this forward fold with different levels of support. You could also turn that couch cushion onto its side if you want more of a forward fold. Right, so you can play with that range of motion in your forward fold. And then the idea behind being at the wall space is nice because you get to lean your low back, your tailbone against the support of the wall. It's really quite nice. Let this forward fold be as supported as needed. So we'll take more time here. We'll let our body start to soften and unfold and unfurl. About 3 minutes. As you find stillness in your fold, can you relax your jaw? If there's a lot of tension in the neck and the shoulders and it's causing you to really tighten up, I suggest you back out of your fold and provide a little bit more propping underneath forehead, belly, chest, all of those things. Five slow, deep breaths here. One more breath in, breath out. Hands down alongside the legs, slowly uncurl the spine, head comes up very last. Take your time with this. And just sit up. If your back is against the wall, you can lean your head against the wall. Just sit up here for a few moments. Breathe in and breathe out. So this first half of class we've been really focused on forward folding and opening up the back body. Now we'll work with opening up the front body and a little bit more compression of the back body, right? So balancing the two sides of the spine. So do have a prop close by, whether it's your pillows or stacked blankets, that we'll utilize as we come down to the mat. First, just start out by coming to your back, bend your knees, and plant your feet, let the back of your head rest. Feel like you're preparing for a bridge pose. Arms down alongside the body, let your palms face down. A little baby pelvic rock here. So rock the weight to the tip of the tailbone, that low back slightly lifts, and then low back presses down into the mat, and the tailbone just slightly lifts. It's really not a big movement, maybe a couple of inches. You're just rotating the pelvis forward and backward. It's an anterior tilt forward, posterior tilt backward. So mobilizing the hips, the pelvis, lumbar spine. Just continue with the breath a few rounds. Come back to neutral. Take a breath in, press down through the feet, lift the hips up, stretch the arms up and overhead. And exhale everything back to the mat. Now we'll gather whatever we're going to use underneath the tailbone and the sacrum, slide it underneath that band of waist, just the very bottom edge of the low back, the whole width of the back of the pelvis and the sacrum, so the tailbone gets a little bit of support. You're going to cover more surface if you're using a pillow or a blanket, of course. If you're using a block, you'll cover less surface, obviously. So just take a few moments to settle in, let the tailbone be heavy. Notice if you need to take away height, add more height. Take a few moments here to breathe. So option here to just stay as you are. This is a great place to stay and rest, especially for a restorative practice. I find it just so deeply nourishing for the lumbar spine and the tailbone, all of that whole lower body area. If you would like to explore adding on, hug your right knee into your chest. You can interlace your hands around that right shin or the back of the thigh. An option to extend the left leg forward. So as the left leg stretches out long, let the left heel bone be heavy if that's what you're doing. The left heel bone might touch the mat, it might not, it might kind of hover away from the floor. If you're choosing this addition, can you relax? Completely relax the legs, shoulders, back of the head. And try not to grip anywhere. And if there's too much tension, if this is causing pain in the low back, you come back to bending that left knee and planting the left foot. You just restart, reset. We'll spend about a minute here. Start to come back to center, bending both of your knees, planting both of your feet. Just a reset here. Don't worry about where you're going next. Just try to stay with me. Both feet planted, both knees bent. Tailbone heavy on the lift of your prop. Shoulders relaxed, back of the head resting. Maybe the eyes are closed, or maybe you have a soft gaze. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Yeah. Again, option to stay right here. It's a great place to work. Or hug your left knee into your chest, interlacing fingers around that left shin or the back of the left thigh. Either way. Let shoulders be heavy, arms relaxed. Neck and throat soft. If you want to explore extending that right leg out, that's an option. If you are going that route, be sure that you can relax any musculature engagement, soften bones, tissue, muscles. No gripping, no clenching. You, your body, and your breath. Spend a minute on this side. Slowly release, come back through starting position, relax both feet to the mat. Breathe in, knees bent, breathe out. Option to continue staying right here, or maybe you explore extending both legs out. Now that can be a lot on the low back, especially with this lift underneath the sacrum and the tailbone. So if there's sharpshooting pain and you're not able to release glutes or back body, like there's this consistent clenching, that's probably a sign that your body's not going to relax and release to this unless you can breathe through it a few rounds and there's no sharpshooting pain. Okay, but if it's too much, of course you back out. Of course you bend your knees and plant your feet. Remove some of the height, maybe, right? You can remove all of the height completely and just lengthen out on your back. So it's like a little pre-shavasana, a little mini shavasana. And it's okay to feel sensation in our body. We're learning how to discern. Part of the practice of yoga, right, is learning how to discern what is healthy, what is balanced, what does our body feel like when it's in balance, what does our body feel like when it's out of balance, and what is that right action, that right knowledge, that correct way to move forward for us. And this is such a bio-individual experience. What works for me and my body is not necessarily going to work for you and your body, which is why I present these as options and ways to explore different pathways and avenues to have an experience of getting to know you and your body. All that is to say, there is no right or wrong. Your body is not broken. You get to have your own unique experience. If your legs are still stretched out, let's start to bend the knees and plant the feet. Pause. Stay here for a breath. If you still have your prop underneath your sacrum, real gentle, lift your hips, slide that prop out of the way. Let your tailbone come back to the mat without anything underneath it. Begin that gentle pelvic rock, tip of the tailbone to the low back. Up and down. Deep breath in and deep breath out. Now begin to hug your knees up into your chest. And see if you can lengthen out the spine. So the idea that the tailbone can eventually unfurl and press down. And so too can the back of the neck, the shoulders, and the back of the head. It's like you're trying to get your whole spine flat to the mat here. Sometimes it works for me to wrap my arms around my shins and grab my opposite elbows, but sometimes hips are just too tight. So I grab opposite forearms, or I even interlace my hands at the webbing and just hold my shins in. A couple of breaths here. Apanasana, that's the namesake of this posture. Apana means downward energy or downward motion. So it's this idea of elimination, getting rid of any excess energy, elimination of waste, letting go. From here, you might open up to happy baby. You can reach up for soles of the feet or somewhere along the backs of the legs. You might explore movement through your happy baby, or you might just be still. Following the breath. If you do have a hold of your feet, see if you can grab your big toes and then extend your feet up towards the ceiling. So you're like lengthening out through the backs of your legs. This is that first shape we took, as if we were standing on our feet. So we basically turned it upside down. Now we're lying on our backs. You could also grab the backs of the legs here, right? Same thing, same idea, same benefit. Last little bit here. So let go of your feet. Just extend your fingertips up towards the ceiling. Extend your feet towards the ceiling. It's okay to keep your knees bent. And just shake out your legs, shake out your arms. Nobody can see you doing this. I know it might feel ridiculous or silly, but truly just let yourself shake, 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 shake out limbs. Wiggle through the fingertips, the toes, the joints of the ankles and the wrists, the elbows and the knees. Let it all shake and release. A couple more breaths here. And let everything go, let everything rest. Start to assemble Shavasana, lying down on your back. If you prefer, and the wall space is there for you, take legs up the wall or even come to an upright seat. We have 1 minute of silence in our Shavasana. Slightly tilt the chin towards the chest. Relax the shoulders away from the ears. Let the palms face the ceiling. Breath in through the nose. Open your mouth, exhale the air out. Relax the jaw, teeth, tongue. Relax the lips, even the gums. Soften and relax. Soften and relax the flesh around the eyes. Let the eyes sink heavy into their sockets. Feel free to stay in Shavasana. Stay as long as you need, as long as you can afford. You need to move on with your day. Add movement to fingertips and toes. Inhale, stretch the arms long overhead. If you're on your back, bending the knees, roll off to a side fetal position. Continue pressing into the hands, rising up to a seat. Just take a moment here to feel the sits bones root and the spine grow tall. Shoulders relax. Breathe in. Breathe out. And joining the hands together at the heart. Start to rub the palms together, right and left. You're starting to create this sense of energy and heat between right and left hand. So rub until the hands start to feel warmer. Notice the texture of skin on skin. Notice the temperature of skin on skin. Rub a little bit faster still. Until your hands are quite warm, and then take the hands and cup them over the eyes. Feel that sense of heat and energy move down the spine, regenerating the body, the spirit, the soul. The hands over the eyes, blink the eyes open 2 times, open and closed. The eyes close back down, lower the hands, bow the chin to the chest. Just take a moment to honor your effort and your practice. May you remember that you will always be okay. Find a white light that guides you and keeps you safe. Have hope, help, and happiness. Namaste, yogis. Thank you so much, everyone.